Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody tonight, and welcome to the 11th hour. Tonight, on the 11th hour, we're going to talk about, you guys have been seeing me doing these videos every other night or so for the past couple of weeks. So you've been seeing me promote the Masterclass, my website, and all of these different things about business development and such. You've been seeing that in part because this is the way that I've chosen to go about starting to reveal different things to you that I've never really talked about publicly. And it all relates to some experience that I had in business that was pretty outstanding. And, like I say, I do different things now and I do a lot and you guys see me do a lot, but you really never knew what drove me, what really, makes me move and why I kind of do things the way I do. So tonight I want to give you some insight in that. I'm going to condense what could very well go on for hours in conversation into about 15 or 20 minutes. And from that, I want you to understand that this is what qualifies me to teach the masterclass. I mean, with everything that I do, it's easy for someone to think like, okay, well, it's not really the thing that Dwayne really talks about. That's not really his angle, right? But what you never knew is what it is that makes Dwayne really tick and move. And just like the rest of you, I'm the sum of my life experiences. And I just happen to have had one in recent years that brought me to a point to where I had an opportunity to make some staggering income, but instead now have chosen to select staggering impact as I work myself back towards staggering income. And the masterclass is a way for me to do that. So again, go to DwayneHirsch.com, or I'll go that way, DwayneHirsch.com, to see about the masterclass. So, I took a ride in this business, that really encompasses every element of the masterclass. So you have the psychology of entrepreneurship, business development, and networking. Networking put me in very powerful positions. But the psychology of entrepreneurship, when we just deal with that on a base level, is really something. But when you deal with it in a situation where you go from like 0 to 1,000, like really, really fast, it was really a lot. My business had crashed. I had a pretty decent business doing some things before the real estate market crashed. And basically I was, riding on fumes trying to figure out what to do. And I got offered the opportunity to be a part of the start of a beverage company in the energy drink space. The day that I heard about the opportunity, I still had a nice little car at the time, with just going from pillar to pole, trying to make it happen, right? And my guy in Indianapolis called me and said, hey, I got this thing, you really need to see it. We've been doing a lot of business before down there on some other things, and I decided that, all right, I'm coming down there. I talked to him on a Sunday. On Monday morning, I was on my way to Indianapolis. My Infiniti I was driving at the time was, my tires were bald, my brakes were grinding on my car, and I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and drove 2.5 hours to Indianapolis and spent the entire day down there learning about this product. So when he showed it to me, it was in a prototype, and he had me taste it. It tasted great. I'm like, man, I got some people that I know. There was some networking moves that I had been making. I had some people that I knew that I could at least go talk to and maybe, spur some interest, see if somebody would really be interested in attacking that thing. Excuse me. And so I did that, and that worked out. So during that time, I was doing BSN events. I was hosting networking events. Me and Fuzzy, we were at the South Loop Hotel first, and then over at Kiva. And during that time, the guy that created this drink had, he was grinding gears. He was going out trying to raise money to make it happen. And by the time they called me back and brought me back into the equation, they had a product in the can, set, ready to go. Nothing really in the way of sales yet, but they had done a few things to make some noise. I came on board, and bam, we took off like a rocket. So I was in the SBAC at the time. I went after this thing head on. Now, I didn't know anything about the beverage business. I want to make it clear. I had no idea how to sell something into a store. I didn't know how the system of distribution worked, how product manufacturing worked. But this gentleman owned 8 formulas that were designed by one of the original chemists who built Red Bull in Austria. And they formed a partnership in this company, and he paid him, invested a lot of his own money. He, put the money up. They developed the formulas. It had a special niche because they had one that was made for women, one that was made for men, and it was they had healthier ingredients and stuff than most energy drinks had. And I'll tell you a little bit more later why that becomes important, right? So when I saw that this opportunity was really starting to develop for me, I stopped doing BSN events. We were, kind of everything was getting crazy at Red Kiva and stuff kind of anyway, in terms of the management there and all this other stuff. But anyway, it was an easy decision for me to make. But I also had some other tough sacrifices that I had to make. Absolutely. So, last night I was talking about stories, or a few stories for those of you that might have been listening, that came from this time. And so tonight I want to paint a larger picture for you of what actually was accomplished, and then give you some critical details and leave some of that for you for the class. Everything that I'm telling you tonight is true, and it can be proven and will be proven just as a matter of case study for a lot of what it is that I intend to teach in the class. But one of the first things that I learned in this is that when you in a business like that, I don't know if it's because it's a consumer packaged good or just because it was a product that was so good, like the packaging of it was great, the taste of it was great, the way that the company had started to market it originally was great. So me and a partner local here, there were partners that were down south, and me and another partner here grabbed the bull by the horns and went head on. And they did already start developing some mom and pop accounts here, but we came in, we formed a local distribution company. So what we did was we saw that we couldn't get connected to bigger distributors, so we started a distribution company and started selling it ourselves. We brought in salespeople. Dave, Styles by Dave was one of them. Dave did a lot of work. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you, brother, for life, for what you did for us. He helped us get into a lot of these the Walgreens stores that we were in. He promoted the product fearlessly, him and Sean and a lot of other guys. We had a team at one time here of 10 guys on the street. We had shrink wrap vans. We were working with Red Level, with Machiavelli. We were doing different things with a lot of people. And we were really starting to make a lot of moves. So we started that distribution company, and it created a secondary layer of revenue. So even though myself and that partner both had equity stakes in the primary company at different levels, now we both own the stake in the distribution company that served as a hedge between the manufacturer, which was us still, and the retailer. We could make a cut in between. We created some employment along the way and helped to elevate the opportunity on a larger scale beyond that. So what I'm going to do is for the sake of time tonight, I'm going to run you through some things that kind of happened. The details of all of this stuff will be laid out for you at the masterclass. There'll be a lot more time for that. But things got moving. So we were up, we were selling products. One of the early highlights that we had was that one of our partners down south grew up with and had a good relationship with T.I. And they put, he had introduced him to the product. He liked it. Now, at this time, we were already in over 100 Walgreens stores in Chicago. We were moving, so we were just moving and kind of playing things along. We were meeting people. We were already in talks with Walmart. We were already in talks with major grocery store chains in the South. We had business brokers working for us. We had Walmart, the Walmart approval and the introduction to Sam's Club. We were in, thanks to Larry Ivory and Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce, we were in the Paradise Casino in Peoria. In fact, I was presented with the 2012 New Business of the Year award from them that year for the work that we did. We were selling product in St. Croix. We got approved for sale in Dubai. Now in Dubai, this was interesting, right? Because I'm going to show you something about opportunity here. So this brother down in Atlanta saw what we were doing and really loved the product, and he was getting ready to move to Dubai, essentially to create a business with a brother over there. Shout out Sultan Al-Kubasi, a brother there. So they were going to go half and become create a distribution model. So that model that we created here in Chicago of independent distribution we use that as a way to create the opportunity for other people to get in. So when it came down, my role in that was as the chief operating officer. So every decision that was made by the company, when you hear me say we, was executed, was either I created or executed on behalf of the company, the role that I was brought there to do. So they created a company. Now in the United Arab Emirates, 50% of the company has to be owned by an Emirati, which I think is an incredible way of them protecting their economy from carpetbaggers. Like, if we didn't have to do that, we would have went in without him and, just stuck money out of the economy over there without them really getting their fair share. So that's their way of making sure they get their fair share. But that's a lesson for another time. But it was really great to have an opportunity to work on that. But we got approved for sale through the Abu Dhabi Food Control Authority. So these were the levels of game that we were playing on. And this is me driving a ship that was already set up for me to sail. And I'm running it. I'm meeting incredible people along the way. Having a meeting with the ambassador from the nation of Botswana and listening to her talk to me about me coming in the door thinking that, this is going to be about us, we'll sell some product in our country and then do some things. No, this is about building a plant in her country to manufacture it and sell it through the continent of Africa and then back into the U.S. as well, instead of having that supply chain go the other way. This would have been groundbreaking stuff we talking about. Groundbreaking stuff. We had a brother that was doing some light distribution in St. Croix, Virgin Islands. Everything was working fine there. We got we had the Daytona thing that I talked to you about yesterday, the meeting with the race team owner, who basically wanted to take that situation with T.I. and turn that into making us the bridge to diversity, essentially, for all of NASCAR. Humongous opportunity. So all of the things that we did, now the Walmart thing we had was 23 stores here to start with the store in Niles being our primary store, like your home-based store. I'll tell you a little bit later about the way that this shook out on revenues. All of this stuff is just translating, and it's moving very, very fast. I mean, I'm here tonight, and in 2 hours I'm on a plane going somewhere for 2 or 3 months at a time, or even a week or a few days at a time. One of those times, I went to Miami. They called me on a Wednesday night, told me, go down. You got to be at the airport in the morning, go to Miami. You meeting with the Birdman and his people about this vodka thing. Now, Walmart had told us that when you come in the store, like anytime you go into Walmart, you see all of these pallets of products in the store. That would have been us when you first walk in the door. And shout out to my man Reggie. If you listen to Reggie, I love you, brother. Reggie told me as we're setting up this deal, if you guys pair this with a vodka brand, you could really drive it up, because pairing these drinks is really big in the nightlife and in the bars and the clubs. So this was the basis of the meeting that we were having with Birdman, because at the time they had a vodka brand called GTV. I don't know if they still do or not. But the next night, after talking to him and a couple of his people on the phone, the next night, we were at, that was the night that the Heat with LeBron beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, because we were all at the stadium and then went to the Hit Factory studio to have this meeting. Now, the night before, I was just kind of at the office, working on a few things, figured I'd go home and get some sleep. And I get this call, and the next night, here I am standing in the Hit Factory looking at the legends of music and the people that's walking through the halls, the cars that's in the lot. It's like freaking me out in a good way though, but I was cool. But the problem was, there was a big problem with this that I can't tell you now. I'm going to talk to you about it in the Masterclass. I can't give you that much. There's a huge problem that happened there. It wasn't a fight or no dumb shit like that. It was business. And it's the principle of understanding how these situations work. And then you have an expectation that the people you deal with know what the hell they're doing. They don't. Trust your instincts in business. You trust your instincts. Don't wait. If you're in a meeting and you got a group of people and you see that the lead is not being taken by the person who brought you there, then damn it, you take it. You take it and you drive it your way and you ask them motherfuckers for permission later. Excuse my language on that one. I didn't mean to cuss quite that hard, but man, I'm serious. You got to do that. That's a big lesson from that I'll talk to you a little bit more about. So we took all of that, the accounts we had, we over 200 mom and pop accounts. We had Walgreens stores here. We had stores in Baltimore, Houston, Atlanta, and some stuff ready to go in Detroit and Alabama, and then the Walmart deal. Now, so what we did was during this time, we were working with a capital acquisition company that we hired and paid very good money to build out our business profile so that we could get prepared to raise the money to take advantage of all of the opportunities that we were starting to see develop for us. This thing went very, very well. Wait till you see in the class how this performer is laid out as an example of something. Because every investor we ever sent it to, showed it to, they were highly impressed with the presentation, the way it was presented. All of that stuff was done very well. Now, there was a lady in Atlanta that was a famous singer at one time in Atlanta, had introduced us to a world-class marketing agency that she had discussed with them, I guess, and they showed some interest in us. And they sent representatives down to Atlanta to talk to us. And so these people said, basically, look, we're the guys that come in and vet you for them. And based on what your needs are, we either walk you right in the door or we sit you down and scrub you out according to the metrics that we're looking for. And, that, of course, that, like everything else, that costs money. This advertising agency is responsible for some of the most iconic commercial ads of the modern era. So when we put the performers, the summaries and everything together, I still have all this information. I'm going to show it to everybody at the class. I want to tell you what came back. Now, this was from existing accounts that we had, and the pro forma projections were really built around. So all of those accounts have a certain level of growth that you're looking to achieve. How have they been performing, and how will they perform when you have the capital increase to marketing and such? So you project this in certain percentages over each quarter across the span of 3 years. For every account, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then private distribution, all the way across the board. When we added those numbers up for the company based on what the accounts we had and plus the letters of intent, so we had all of our letters from Walmart, we had all of the letters for Dubai, we were already selling at the casino in Peoria, and we had a whole gang of other stuff. Still got a whole lot of that information. So we got all of these things built out. You can see it in the pro forma. So in 2013, now this business was taking place mostly between 2010 and 2012 primarily. So 2013, our revenue, projected revenue would have been $7,904,272. 2014, $27,212. In 2015, $150,567,672 gross revenues. A lot of overhead and expenses to account for in that, but that's revenue. Now, I want you to think about this. At that time, I did homework on it. I couldn't find any Black-owned beverage company in American history that had ever done this. So once I saw this, I went from this being a business deal that feels good and it's fun to do to now, wait a minute, you could actually be the biggest or the largest, whatever the hell, Black-owned beverage brand in American history, because that's just not a game that historically we've played on our own. And here we are in the position of manufacturers with the ability to service and reformulate drinks on any continent for private labeling. We had unlimited potential. Unlimited potential. But I had a very strong upside to all of this. The psychology of entrepreneurship that I'm talking about is the psychology of how I held it together during this time, how I attacked it for one, because 90% of what I just told you about on that board came either directly from me or through my engagement with something that someone else brought to the table to me. I performed. I did very well. I got us in a great position. I mean, we even met, for any of you who know who this is, we even met with representatives of the Carlyle Group, right? When we were in this capital acquisition phase in a restaurant in Miami during this weekend where we met the Birdman and them that night. That turned into 4 days. So, 4 days there and leaving from a party with LeBron James and getting straight on the airplane to Chicago at 4 or 5 in the morning. It was a fast, that whole thing was moving very fast. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of great people. Incredible amount of people. I still got all the contacts that I had when I built that. And so one of the real objectives is going through it and knowing that you can do that again. So now let me tell you what one of the problems was. One of our issues was that, and this is a big thing to talk to you about, I've said it in one of my previous broadcasts to you, is about partnership. In partnership, you have to be really in sync mentally with the people that you partner with, whether it's one person, two people, or in my case, several, okay? When somebody is looking at investing $3 million, $5 million in you, and we did have a couple of offers for that, and I'll tell you what happened about that in the masterclass. Because we tend to think from the outside looking up to that level of business, we tend to think that all those decisions that go into that process are very easy and open, but it's not always that way because in part, everybody don't have the same goals. Everybody don't have the same idea in mind about what they really want out of this. And when you come to a point of that level of success, and now you're sitting at the table, that comes crashing down on the minds of every man in the room. So it's for me, it's like, I'm going to build this legacy. We're going to employ our people. We're going to jam. This is going to be it. This is my foray into the top. Now, keep in mind that before this, leading up to this, I was heavily studying the law of attraction and the mastermind alliance principles of Napoleon Hill. So I didn't see any of what was going on as luck. I had taken control and responsibility of my professional life through this opportunity, and I was driving every ounce of my soul with it. You can go back to my timeline on Facebook for anywhere during that time, and you saw me posting and running and gunning all the time. We made all those connections and more. But too many equity partners in a deal makes it a lot less attractive to investors. We got a couple of offers that would have been great for us, but when your partners are not in continuity, it makes it difficult to do that. And anytime somebody gets close to you, you and your partner, you ever think of it like your relationship with your wife or your husband, ladies, your significant other, how you and your husband are like at it, right? And you have to go out around other people and you hope that other people can't read it, but they do. And so these people, these investors who were trying to marry us and other companies that were looking at us could read, either in some cases because some people just couldn't refrain from saying too much, but in other cases just because they could read the tension that existed and the difficulty with which seemingly simple decisions were getting made. So imagine every decision you make for your company. Somebody come to you and say, man, I'm gonna give you $5 million with 3 on the front and 2 on the side, and you got to go ask several people their opinion of that. Well, why it can't be 5 up front? Why it can't be 4? Why it can't be 10? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing it? Everybody had questions. Your fears, all of their fears are being challenged just like mine. We're all facing the same fear. We're all facing the same challenge, and we're all managing that challenge differently in our own silos, and that's reflecting in the boardroom. So it was difficult. It was difficult. There was a couple of attempts. Another company attempted. They wanted to do a partnership with us where they would have took full control. They would have financed us in full, given us full distribution rights, would have brought me in to run the company because they were very impressed with what they saw in me with my limited knowledge. They knew I had limited knowledge of the business, but they couldn't understand. And I'm telling you, man, everywhere we went, you got to understand, when you're going somewhere and you saying to people, we own this beverage, a bunch of hands, ninjas, we own this. And yes, we own the formula. So this is not a private label thing where somebody else made it up, then we bought it in. No, we owned, like the formulas themselves were assets to the company, and they had an actual value. So that's a different game. That's a whole different game. This is like being Frank Lucas in a sense, where you straight to the connect. That ain't usually the position we play in these types of industries. We're not the connect at the end. Like you got to go through us to get to that. But that's the position we were in, and I understood the power of that position we were in. I said earlier on my page, you could walk in a room with nothing to a room filled with people with power, but when you got something of value, you gain power in that moment. You gain power at that time that you never had. And I started to feel a sense of that, quite honestly. I never expressed it in the way I was posting. I just post like, hey, we getting it in, we doing it. But I never talked about the gravity of a lot of this stuff in those posts. At that time, when all of this stuff kind of unraveled, I was still in negotiation to get the product approved in Great Britain and Jamaica. We had an opportunity to be the sponsor of the national Jamaican soccer team. The lesson for you and me here was that during this process, I proved to myself that anything is possible, my friends. And that's what qualifies me to teach this masterclass. I learned in this process that I could achieve anything. I'm sitting, nothing that I had ever done professionally up to this point even came close to this. But I took everything that I had been learning in these last couple of years, trying to dig myself out of that trap and use it and pour it into this thing. And I did. And we got a long way. But it's like a wild horse in a rodeo. It's like a wild horse in a rodeo. You try to tame him, and you can get him to the water, but it's difficult to control his mouth. It's difficult to make him drink from the well that you dug for him sometimes. It's not as easy as it seems, no matter how much money on the line. Part of that, it relates to, your station in life. My partners were in much better financial positions than I was. They were in much better financial positions than I was. I was the one, as the COO of the company that was charged with doing all these things, and I was fine with that, but I was earning my equity. My equity was sweat equity in this company. It wasn't a financial investment. What I count as an investment is what I did not earn that I could have been earning had I not been doing that. But this is an experience that I wouldn't trade at all. I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. So if you ever want to know why I work so hard, if you ever want to know what drives me, I'm driven by the fact that I'm like an old person. Think of it like an old person in a casino. You know how you go to a casino? It's a lot of old people in a casino. Not just because it's entertaining to them, but they're chasing lost opportunity. They're chasing what they couldn't get when they were younger, and all of the advice and stuff, shit that people would tell them and they didn't listen to, and now they're older. They're not really always, those ain't old wealthy people on the boat. Those are old poor people in large part. Those are old people who are not necessarily just poor, but are say middle class, whatever. But people that on whatever level just didn't go after it, man. I gave up everything I had to go after that. So after that, can you imagine the depression that I felt? Let's go back to psychology for a minute. The depression, feeling like that I just blew, or just was a part of the greatest thing that never was. I'm like a number one draft pick that got his knee busted on day one. You know what I mean? That's how I felt. So, after these last couple of offers that we had, I was still, scrapping and scraping and trying to just hold out for opportunity, right? So now the people I told you that came to meet with us from this advertising company, that deal didn't work out. And in part, it didn't work out because my partners did not trust that these guys were going to be able to, that all of this was going to happen. And they had a lot of doubt. Well, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if this happened? And yeah, it cost some money to engage that process, but we were so deep in at that point. We were in the middle of a promising capital raise, and working with them actually boosted the value of the raise. So if we sign with this company that's known all over here, then now everybody's gonna want to pour money into us. So now a $3 million raise just became 10. The man from Carlisle told us, don't come to me when you need 50. I'll be your third round. This is a great product. He said that to me, to my face. The Carlisle Group Capital Acquisition Specialist. I got a meeting with him through a partner who had a friend who was a Haitian limo driver in Miami. Networking. All of these stuff, everything I told you up here that we achieved, most of that came from direct networking. I told you that Eric Finkelstein, he's probably responsible. One person from Chicago is responsible on a, outward level for almost everything you see up there. There's another thing I want to tell you too from the business development side. We got threatened for a minute. One of the things that slowed down the investor pool for us was that we got hit with what my mentor Michael Drayton likes to refer to as a legislative risk. So there was a girl in Ohio that died from drinking some energy drinks, and now the Bloomberg had put this ban on sugary drinks in New York or whatever, and this got started. Excuse me if I'm being a little long tonight, but it's a lot to go through here. Stay with me for just a few more minutes. There is it's still on their website in their archives. I got, driving around one day, was in the West Loop by the office. I get a phone call at 3:00 to do an interview on Chicago Tonight about this ban that's been proposed by Alderman Burt on energy drinks. Now, I did hear the news. I stayed on top of my news. So I felt like, okay, I can go do this. Now, when I get there, Elizabeth Brackett is doing the interview, and the person that they have me, it's always point, counterpoint, is a doctor from the University of Chicago. Now, here's little old me. Didn't know nothing about this business coming in. Some of y'all saw that interview. And if you go there, or if you ask me to send you the link, I'll send you the link to the interview. I handled my business in that interview because I was locked in, I was down in, I was focused. My psychology was so in order at that time. But sometimes the psychology of winning makes you willing to sacrifice things that others are not in order to win. So here's how it ended. The day I knew it was over was one night I had been out hanging out, and I came home late. And I was watching Bloomberg television at 2 a.m. and they had a show on called Naked Brands. It's an hour-long show. And I figured I'd turn it on, keep my business wheels turning. I'm still going through depression. And the event, it said in the the info thing that this is a program that features leaders in brand development and advertising. And guess who the featured person was that night? The man who created the advertising company that sent those people to meet with us. That was who was on that show. So that night, when I realized the gravity of the error that was made when the decision was made not to work with them, but that was also when I knew it was over. And I cried like a motherfucker. Man, that was like your dog, your old Yeller or something. That was one of them. But after that, slowly but surely, I started to reverse and change my perspective on this whole thing. And I started to see it as a means by which, hell, if nothing else, I'll get rich writing the book on this wild ass story, right? But then I thought, how can I share this with people in a way? Because a lot of this shit is embarrassing. Like when I get into the details of this, a lot of it is embarrassing. But I'll give it to you for your benefit. Because over these last few years, the thing that I've learned from all this nonpartisan lobbying and things, I've learned to see things from a different perspective. You need me. You do. I work to change laws to benefit small business owners. I've been hosting events that have been free forever, giving you the chance to connect with each other. And still, that's not a widely copied model. Certainly not in the format that Fuzzy and I developed at BSN. But you need this class because there's gaps in your business. Every scenario that I'm going to talk to you about will offer you the reflection of the dumb shit people do, how people make dumbass decisions in places where the answer is very clear, at least to you. And I'm not saying that anybody was dumb. I was dealing with intelligent people. But sometimes even me, we make decisions that cannot be quantified by logic. And I call that a dumbass decision. And if you make a decision that you can't defend or not willing to defend, then I have no respect for that person. You got to be able to tell me. If the answer is no, man, you got to tell me why, partner, business partner. You got to tell me why. It's a lot on the line here. So it's heavy. I drew myself out of that. I got back into doing networking events. That helped to bring me out of that. I started doing real estate. Shout out to Latalo McGee from Ani Real Estate, who encouraged me to get into real estate. But, I just to give you a little bit of perspective, I got my real estate license in June of 2014. June of 2014. When I went back and was looking through the papers, I said, shit, in 2014, we had a $56 million revenue projection. That hurt. And then I just had to suck the shit up and move on. But I also had to take in the context the gravity of what I had done. Because if I did it once, I could do it again. And I learned truly that nothing is impossible. And again, that's what qualifies me to teach this class. Because I've learned that, I've seen that, and I'm ready to share that with you. So tonight, I kept you a little long. I appreciate those of you who stayed. Those of you who watch this later, understand that I take this very seriously. And this is something that'll affect me and impact the way I do business with and what I do to work for you for the rest of my lifetime. The opportunities that I found and saw happen there, they can happen for our people on a grander scale. All we got to do really, man, is go after that shit. Because I wasn't nobody to do it, and I did. So don't make the 11th hour your last hour. Send an email, send a shout out, post a video, do something, help somebody or serve somebody, but make you some money in the process. I love you all and thank you. Talk to you tomorrow. And also remember, DwayneHurst.com, Masterclass registration. Good night.